Hi, Kelly Bandelos here from Kelly Bandelos Studios. Today I'm going to be setting up a piece for a Day of the Dead piece, which is coming up towards the end of the month, and I'm going to be using my director reflector so I can show you once again how to use Procreate. I already did an outline of a face that I was doing, but how I add on the makeup and the special effects and all that is how I'm going to do it on this piece. Most of my Day of the Dead pieces are done on pastels. I use pastel paper, sanded Wallace paper, or sanded papers. So it's very rare for me. I have actually never done it on Procreate. So I'm going to do this on Procreate exactly the way I would probably do it on a piece of pastel or sanded paper or even a painting. So let's go and check it out and see how I do it. Let me go back to my, I don't want to stick with my standard palette. I think I'm going to stick with this palette, but there's colors I don't want in here. Let me see. I think I want to go with a really beautiful sort of a, like an almost like a dark orange color underneath everything. So I'm going to brush it on super basic. Let me just, oh, that's a way bright. As you can see, I'm lowering the intensity. It's the opacity on the brush. And I'm kind of just gonna gently, I'm gonna wash it on a little bit bigger, and I wanna lighten that opacity because I don't wanna make it too big. So we're going to just brush on this beautiful color under here. And the reason I'm doing an undertone for her, because the Day of the Dead usually actually whitens out the face. But on this particular one, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do some face painting and face artwork, like around the eyes, of course, the mouth and the nose. But I really still want to keep the skin tone there. And on her neck a little bit. And you can see there's some drawing lines on there, and I'll probably blend those in. Actually, let me blend some of those right now. You see I have the line right here, right down the center of the nose. This is what kind of my gridding, if you will. When I started gridding, I just like to line things up, and where things line for her is a little bit different than where they line for everybody else. Everybody's got a different grid on their face. I like things to be super even. So I want to make sure her nose was set in there evenly, her mouth, her chin. I'm going to change her chin a little bit. Okay, let's get rid of those lines. The lines are distracting. Okay, let's go back to our oranges. Now I'm going to use the oranges a little bit more on spaces where she has highlights on her eyebrows, make a little bit smaller, a little bit more, too much, a little bit more on the opacity. But a bigger sort of a swipe, and again, it's like I'm trying to create that painterly feel. She has, of course, she's got these glorious high cheekbones right here. We're gonna keep on with that, just like that. A little smidge more opacity, and these are just all gonna change. Of course, this is just a layout, and as we go along, you're gonna say, wow, I can't believe how much that changed, and it will. She has a cute little like nose here, so we're gonna do this, and she's got a lot of highlight on her brow and forehead area, so let me just highlight that a bit, and right up on the crown of her head. If I can get all symbolic, I could do all the chakra points and stuff. Sometimes I do just for myself, actually. I put like chakra points under there for myself. It's very symbolic, and I just do it. Sometimes you don't even ever see them again, but for me it makes me feel better. Okay, so I give people a third eye and a crown chakra highlights just for fun. Okay, these pieces of artwork that we do are, they're ours, so you can do whatever you want to do with them. And even if it is a commercial piece, or even if it is for a specific reason, it's still your work, right? So, okay, so you can see I have the highlights there. She has a lot of highlights on the side of her neck too. So, there we go. So, a little too much. Back it up. That's the great thing about that backup button there. You can back it up. And so this is kind of you know, a basic underpainting, if you will. I'm just making a really broad sort of thing now, just across the whole piece, just to highlight her a lot. I want her face to really pop and be really pretty. I see it on the screen over here. So as I'm looking at my reference photograph on my little iPad and my artwork that I'm doing on the iPad, then it is reflecting onto my computer, so I get to look up and I see what is going to be recorded in the video, so that's kind of neat. Okay, so what I want to do, obviously I do see like an olive cast in there, but I see also blues, so I'm going to pick up this sort of medium-ish blue, and again, very super light. I want to see how that's going to be on here. Okay, so that's creating a highlight. I don't want to highlight so much as I want a low light. So I'm picking up that darker blue, and again, I'm keeping it super low. I don't want it to be really, really heavy opacity-wise. And I need to create a line right here around her brow. Just a smidge more opacity. And on, you can see right over her right eye there, I put just a little bit, and inside of, from her, she got perfect, perfect, perfect eyebrows. But you'll see once I do this and I give her her basic face, then I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to, let me just make sure I get her nose right, and I'm going to put the makeup on top of it, merge it, and then back it off a little bit, because I really want to make sure I have the cast on her face proper. And I've never really worked, I've never really done this before with the Procreate, so I do want to, you know, put it on gently. These are my medium, not my blacks, but my medium tones. She has these ridiculously gorgeous lips, my goodness. And she's got a highlight on them. So I think I'm going to merge this line a little bit, just lighten it up a little teeny tiny bit, so we don't have to look at it too much. I want to, because I'm going to be putting makeup on top of it, I have to be careful about how much color I'm going to put on her lips. So I want to make sure that as I enlarge this, I want to make sure that I make sure I'm creating a grayscale more than a color popping, because the colors will change when we put on the other things. That was way too much, so we're going to go a little smaller, go along her upper. There is a shadow line on the bottom of her upper lid, and there's a great shadow line. It's a little too much, but you know, when you're talking about drawing figures, and a lot of times most artists, of course, they work on this sort of straight line outlines, and although I do when I'm drawing maybe for a painting, I'll set up the figure and I have my angles and I have my surfaces, if you will, the front surface, the side surface, the back surface. Every artist that is doing, you know, I guess maybe figure drawing is doing stuff like that. But I don't like to do it all the time, because I like to work in my positives and negatives a lot. So as you can see, she's got and I'm trying to create the positives and negatives and the cools and warms. So her lips are dark in the piece, but I want to create a positive negative with the oranges and the blues. So that's going to create my lines and my levels, okay? Behind in her hair we're going to do some interesting things with the hair. I'm going to probably put some flowers in there, do something like that, and I'm going to do it as if it was a mixed media piece, which I'll show you as I go along. So let me just do my darks in here on the side, because the Day of the Dead girls, the Catrinas as they say, they often wear flowers in their hair. Okay, so we got our lines there. And so I want to celebrate that by doing a traditional roses, possibly. I have to see what I could find reference-wise for the photographs. Her eyes are very, they're really dark. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep her eyes as dark as they are, but I'm doing the subcolor of blue. And she's wearing a lot of makeup, but I'm not going to do that because that's not necessarily what I'm looking to create here. I'm looking to create the surfaces on her skin and the positives and negatives of the surfaces on her skin, where the lines are on her, not lines so much as surfaces. Okay. I did a light outline so that you would see it on top of my dark background when I was laying it out. And as I turn it, I'm touching it and turning it. So if you look down here, I can touch it with 2 fingers and turn it, or I can touch it and make it bigger or smaller. And what's really great about this, which I've learned to use, because when I first did it, it was driving me crazy, but I've gotten better at it because, I had to learn to get better. I learned to work with it at one point because I was unable to stand, and I had to sit in bed working. So this was my only way of handling that. I'm moving over to the purples. Now, purple is a really cool color because purples are where warm and cool meet, because purple is a combination of red and blue, right? So I like to use it as a kind of a meeting color, I want to call it, or the transitional colors between your reds and your blues. And I love to use it in certain cases. Here I'm using it pretty much as an outline, and I might not, it's not going to stay like this, but this is just my basic outline of this piece. And she has a lot of makeup, so I'm trying not necessarily to have a lot of makeup. I really don't necessarily want makeup on her because I'm going to put the makeup on her with the Day of the Dead stuff. Okay, she's absolutely perfect eyebrows. It's ridiculous how gorgeous and perfect they are. And I haven't decided if I'm going to keep them or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another layer and I'm going to add them onto the other layer for a reason that I just really want to, and I'm going to do them in blue because I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them. I probably won't because the makeup generally goes above that. And I'm just washing them on. There's no hairs involved here. This is literally I'm just washing it on. I'm keeping it light because I'm going to change it, I think. I think I'm going to not have the eyebrows. Or if I decide to do it on one side and not the other, I'll have the eyebrow where it is there, where it's supposed to be there. Okay? So there she is. That's your basic outline of the piece. She has long hair. It is straight. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. Creatively, I'm not sure if I like that idea. But that's where we're at with this piece. I'm just going to create where the line is so I can have it as a reference. And if I do the flowers, I'll probably put the flowers like in this area here. And I think I'm going to work now in a lighter color for highlights, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my palette. So let's go over to palettes, and I'm going to go to my favorite, and it's just one I use all the time. I can't even say why I use these colors all the time, but I do. So you can see I have a lot of different tones here, and I like the combinations of all the different tones. I might get rid of this one. I think I'm going to get rid of it. Get rid of it. There. There we go. Okay. tap on it and I pitch it away. It's not going. Okay. Oop, I don't want to lose my picture. Okay. So let me see what I can do with her. I think I'm going to make up a color in here. It's a really, she's very creamy. She's got creamy, great, gorgeous creamy. So let me just pop the highlights on gently, right here. Super gentle. You can see I'm just brushing them on and over around her eye and down onto her cheekbone and then above her brow and her chin and her nose. So then what we're going to do, no, that's all I want. I'm going with a little bit darker. And then we're going to stop here today. I'm just outlining still. And I'm putting in the darkest darks right now with a very dark blue that I have here. I'm usually not one who likes to draw the teeth. In this particular piece, it really is part of the statement that's made that her mouth is partially open. So, a little bit bigger. Okay, and under her nose. Okay. And then we're going to go over to her eye one more time and just pick up that darkest area. We haven't done the lights in her eyes yet. That's a color that I'm going to choose later once I get the colors of the Catrina face on there. But you can have a really good idea of where we are with the outline of her face, basic coloring and what I'm looking for. I really don't want to do too much more until we start our next session, because that's going to be where I'm going to map out where the Day of the Dead Catrina makeup goes on this face. So that's a good layout for today. Please follow back to part 2, and we're going to go next layering and how I do that. Thanks so much for watching. Follow me to part 2 of the Day of the Dead Catrina. And thanks for following. Please like and subscribe. There's always more. So if you subscribe, you can get follow-ups and more cutting-edge techniques of how to use Procreate and how to apply it to your personal artwork. So have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. See you on part 2.